Hurricane is good. I hope it's good. Okay, this is Jamil Salib Zami out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment. As promised, I would come back on with a commentary concerning Black boys, Black men, and suicide. And I also want to add to this, which I have in my sub subtitle, transgender, um, gay and lesbian as well. I want to include the LGBTQ community, not because it's a popular thing, not even because I support it. I believe that a man should be with a woman should be with a man. I believe in the nuclear family, but I also understand, ironically, clearer than most, that we're in a society now where our young boys are confused and lonely and mentally depressed and mentally unstable. Our young girls are confused, depressed, mentally unstable. And wherever you find what you perceive as love, at this point is where you're going to plant your flag. Wherever you find what you perceive as love, because life has become very lonely, and life has become very depressing. And it's something that Black men especially can't talk about. Unfortunately, Black women can't talk about it. Uh, White men will go see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and I know some young Black men who are doing the same. But at the end of the day, I got that from my son. When it's all said and done, the people who understand you best are those who have walked in your shoes in the way in which you have walked in your shoes. And so I want to talk today about Black boys, Black men, suicide, disappointment, loneliness, and I want to go into some professional talk about it, then some personal talk about it. I am not a professional psychiatrist, psychologist, sociologist, or any doctor related individual who can give you medical advice. I can't give you medical advice, but I can give you, by God's permission, soul searching advice. So we are broadcasting live now on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different platforms, 3 Facebook pages, linked, YouTube, X, which was previously Twitter, and we're also on Instagram. So I thank all of you for tuning in today. Again, we are talking about Black mental health, the rise in the suicide rate, and drug abuse. And what stemmed this conversation, but it was a conversation with a white male. He is the coroner of Sumter, South Carolina. I met him at a political rally, and I met him at a political rally, and we got in. Actually, he was coming off of 5 deaths. He was up all night. He's the coroner. 5 deaths in one night, and I stopped him and asked him what was the were the deaths related to, and I asked him, was it homicide, black on black crime, and he said none of these were homicides. 2 of them were suicides. 3 of them were natural causes, but the natural causes were amplified by the drug use. And he went into the topic of how he has never seen, at this point in his career as coroner, so many Black men who are committing suicide. The rise in Black men and the use of heroin, the rise in mixing marijuana with DEET, bug spray, and the damage it does to the body. Huffing of DEET, and also the lacing of today's marijuana with fentanyl residue. So I wanted to talk today about depression, the mental state of Black men. I understand that some of us are so tough and strong that we don't even have sense enough to realize that we are not as tough and strong. This week is Transgender Awareness Week. Again, I do not promote homosexuality. or lesbianism or any of the alphabets that are associated with that. But I do understand that we are in a society where people are lonely and looking for human connection. I do understand that uh, the propaganda of what is the word that I'm looking for? The propaganda of television and other sources have pushed the agenda of homosexuality, of lesbianism, of all of the alphabets. I understand that. And I understand that before long, the majority of us will have to face that in our homes. And I realize that when we are faced with situations like that, it's disappointing to the parent. And it's an area in which we are not equipped to handle. In fact, I met the LGBTQ, I don't know the name of the group in Colombia, and I had invited them to come out. I wanted them to come out to all of our Sugar Hill events. And the reason I wanted them to come out, and I made it very clear, I'm not asking you to come out to promote homosexuality. I'm asking you to come out and help those who think that they may be homosexual or bi-curious, and help them through that journey, um not invite them into a world that is contrary to nuclear family. But most people can't talk to their children about that, so we kick them out. We do a lot of things, and I don't even know what I would do. But so let's get the people involved who can do something about it. It is Transgender Awareness Week from the 13th to the 19th. Also, nowhere on social media pertaining come in South Carolina, as a whole, but in Clarendon County and surrounding counties, definitely no one talks about homosexuality, the homosexual agenda. But I have been blessed to talk about that um, in a series entitled The Homosexual Agenda. And I recently did a broadcast about 4 years ago entitled The Crying Game. And if you haven't seen the movie The Crying Game, the man found out that the person he loved was actually a guy, and they had to go through that whole process. Very good movie. And I did that because someone lost their child, was a male child who began to identify as a female, and the child was murdered. And in fact, his female daughter identifies as a male. And I did a 3-part series entitled The Crying Game, where I interviewed him, the father. The case is still not solved. I interviewed the daughter, and I also gave my opinion on the homosexual agenda. So the reason I did that is because God showed me what was coming, the mental state of our children having to hide their desire. Because if you look at a man having sex with a man long enough, it's going to arouse you. If you look at vice versa, a woman, it's going to arouse you. If you see a man with big breasts and he's just as pretty as a woman and he's got a penis that's all the way down to his leg, it's going to pique your curiosity. And these things we must begin to face. We got to face these things because we got children in our families now who identify as gay and lesbian. But the thing about that is, the discussion today is black boys, black men, and suicide. I will be talking about black women and suicide at a later time. I would prefer to have a woman on the show with me to talk about that. But the reason I'm talking about this is because we think once a person becomes gay and lesbian or in a same-sex relationship, that everything is just peaches and cream. Everything is just great from that point. I got news for you. It's not. You still go through the same relationship trials and tribulations. There's fights. There's love, maybe. There's a doubt. There is breakups. There's infidelity. All of that is still involved with that. But our young children aren't aware. They think if they go with a woman, that's going to solve all the hurt, the pain, the mental anguish, all of the doubt of thoughts of suicide, thoughts of bodily harm. It's not going to solve that problem. So we have to discuss these things. So I want to go into it a little bit. I'm getting off of my soapbox. Y'all know I get on my soapbox first because a lot of people jump down on me when I start to talk about the LGBTQ community or transgenders or gays. These are my people. I don't glorify what they do. I don't glorify their choices in life. But besides that choice, who are they? They're your brother. They're your sister. They're your son. They're your daughter. Of course, you don't want to see your child as a male flamboyant and dressing like a female. That's for Magic Johnson and the other dude to promote their children in that way. But us, we would prefer boys be boys and girls be girls. But unfortunately, that is not the way the world is bringing out our children. And this is leading right into my point. Because of the curiosity and the thoughts in the minds of those of us who hid our private lives, even in amongst the Black community, during the Renaissance, Harlem Renaissance era with W.E.B. Du Bois and James Baldwin and some of the greats who came out of that era. They believe that their creativity came from them coming out of the closet. And it did produce an open mind, an open heart, the ability to express yourselves freely from that. But it also brought along many other issues. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to try to write down some things so I don't forget everything. We won't be long. We are 12 minutes in. Give me an hour. And God willing, we will be done. And I'm not saying that I'll finish this, but I wanted to get on this topic because the suicide rate among Black men it's an epidemic that's not talked about. And we think that suicide is instantaneous. In many cases, it is. But suicide is also when you destroy your body knowingly, when you introduce substances into your and my body that we cannot control. And eventually we become slaves to those substances. And when we talk about fighting our own weaknesses, that's where the Black man turns off the computer, turns off the television. He wants to believe that he is this mighty Joe Young that can take 400 bullets and just stand there, and never die. And he wants to believe that. But that's not so. And so inside of the Black male, inside of the Black boy is fear and doubt and questions that preachers aren't answering, politicians aren't answering, mothers aren't answering, fathers aren't answering. Just go out and be a man. A man don't cry. A man make a living. A man don't sit around the house. But no one taught us how these things are executed long term. And that's why young boys will have money one day from selling dope and blow it all and start back over the next day. Because no one is teaching the process of long-term survival. And because of that, once we get to the level of what we perceive as money, we're still depressed. We're still lost. We're still suicidal. So let's talk about that a little bit today. This is Jamil Salih in South Carolina. I'm not going to go through it all, but I got to go through some of it. This report, Black Boys, Black Men, and Suicide. When I say what I'm saying, I will do this as a quotation, but it's presented by Patrice N. Douglas, psychologist, LMFT. Those of you who are into psychology will know what that is. I'm going to be reading some of this verbatim and then adding on to it. I decided by God's permission that I wouldn't have gone over these notes and study and bring out biblical scriptures and all that. I just want to go with this one. and let's see where God leads us with it. But I'm asking us to begin to, I got one partner of mine, man, that he calls me all the time. And you know what he says when he called? He said, I'm doing a wellness check, my brother. A wellness check. I want to see how you doing, because I know he sees my posts sometimes, and my posts are sometimes so dreary and dire. But what I post, I must post. My intentions are to shock us and incite us and trigger us to think and respond. But I find that instead of responding, you cut off the computer and just talk trash about Jamil, because you think that I'm trying to do something that will benefit me, but not you. So that mentality of, you know how we used to play basketball, and when we didn't get to play the game the way we wanted, sometimes we would take our basketball and go home. Well, instead of working together, we like to take our talent and go home. I bring all the people. I'm going home. Well, I do all the video. I'm going home. So all of the elements that it takes to produce results, we go home. And what's happening with young Black boys is that the people who can help them are so depressed themselves that they're hiding. But when they come out, they glorify filth. I'm drinking today. I didn't drink a gallon a day. What do you think the children are going to think? How do you think Black boys and girls started drinking liquor? How do you think Black boys and girls started looking at porn or started being interested in same-sex relationships? It's from the parents. And what we do in the house, trying to live our life, quote unquote, after bringing children into the world, no longer responsible for them, but only caring about what we want. So social media, if you look at it very closely, adults are saying, I don't need nobody. People aren't what they let, family ain't this. Listen, it's all pain and hurt from needing love, from neglect, from self-doubt that we never got over and we never will get over. Because the moment we start to feel emotional connection to our pain, we drink it away, crack it away, screw it away, fight it away, kill it away. We think that that is the answer. And then after that's over, it's only piled on pain and sorrow and stress. Learning undetected signs of suicide ideation among Black boys and men. How to offer support to reduce the suicide ideation outside of therapy. The idea of, I no longer want to be here. I wish I were never born. I wish I was dead. The world would be better off without me. We are committing slow suicide. The men you see who hold up a bottle of liquor, and to all my brothers out there, I am not talking specifically about you all, but I'm talking to all of us. The man who brags about an alcoholic addiction, I've seen what alcohol does. I know that over a period of time, your liver and kidney cannot do without alcohol, and you will go into DTs. You will have seizures. What's good about that? Since you can't admit that you are afraid that you're at that point and can't stop, you glorify it. But what does that do to the next generation? It makes young people think that their sorrow and pain can be taken away by becoming what you are. And once they become what you are and find out that you really are depressed, they have no more trust in the adults, because we lied and we continue to lie. We are liars. Life is not pleasant. Life is not a happy thing. You get moments of happiness, pockets of happiness, but life is a struggle. And the struggle, you're supposed to man up, woman up, and embrace the struggle and trust in God and get as far in the struggle as you can, so that your and my next generation will not have to suffer. That requires the sacrifice of life. So Christ sacrificed as an example of the distance we must go in order to save humanity. But none of us want to die. None of us want to sacrifice. So we come on the internet. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm that. Great morning. Great evening. Everything cannot be great in this evil world. So our children and those who are in tune with their emotional self are facing the ideation, the idea of I cannot live in a world where all of these people act as if though they are so happy. And no matter how I tried, I done bought this, I done smoked that, I done sexed this, I done did that, and I'm still unhappy. How are we going to deal with that? How communities can help and reduce suicidal deaths among Black boys and men. These young people are committing suicide. They could care less about how they died. Death is easy. Death is easy. If a person comes to you and say, I'll kill you in, that's all you got. You're going to kill me. You're going to remove me off of the place that is hurting me the most. Death is easy. Taking life is easy. And you can see it in the people who can't deal with the idea of a loss of a loved one or the person who pulled the trigger, because we have turned death into a party. Who doing the shirts? Where the party at? This for my nigga. My nigga brought the city out. That's mental illness. How he bring the city out or she bring the city out and they're dead. And you not there saying anything deep. How many of you speak at the funeral so the mother can hear good things about their child? Really? So let's talk about this suicide and ideation of suicide a little bit. We're 22 minutes in. Facts about Black boys and suicide. Self-report suicide attempts for Black adolescents rose by 3%. That's from 1991 to 2007. 73% among Black people. Don't matter if you die from a car accident. You were drunk when you died. You were high when you died. You hit a tree because you were high, because you were trying to escape something. And you can't get with men who will admit that they have trouble up here. I've had trouble up here all my life because I grew up neglected and am still neglected by the little family that I have left. For whatever reason they choose to be neglectful, they got to live with that. I'm not living with it because I don't have a grudge against nobody at no time, with the exception of anybody thinking because of some religious belief or financial level that they are better than I am. That I have a problem with. Other than that, I do not. There is no religious institution that can save you. Only God can do that. They can introduce you to a path that may save you. Finances can help you, but it can't save you. No, they want to tell you if you get an education, you go to school, you get an education, get a good job, you live the American dream. That's a lie. You must first be truthful with who you are. How many of us, by a show of hands, can take our shirts off, clothes off, look in the mirror and say, this is me? How many of you women, by a show of hands, can take the lashes off, the hair off, the teeth out, what do you call it, the conforming strap on, and just look at yourself and say, this is me? What's it about myself that I love? I love the fact that God blessed me with life. And I love the fact that I have another day to do what I didn't do today. I can try again tomorrow. I love the gift of time. And as long as we live, time will destroy. So we're going to look different. We're going to have to suffer the consequences of choices we made in life. Rather we ate too much, drank too much, had too much sex, got a hold of something. Unfortunately, putting on all these chemicals on our bodies. You know, the report is that with the chemicals, women put over 1,000 chemicals on their body every day. And all of those chemicals are carcinogens, cancer causing agents, from the eye paint to the eye glue to the hair relaxer to the hair color to the cologne to the chemicals in the bras, the chemicals in the panties and the panty liners, the nail polish, the contact lenses, all of these things. Slow suicide. Because I hate myself so much, I must try to become someone else every day when I wake up. Now the men are doing it with the beards, and I got to look like the world look. I got to act like the world acts. I got to be like the world be. And after all of that Hollywood, I'm still depressed. I done bought this and bought that, and I got a new this and a new that, and no one taught us the secret to mental happiness, spiritual happiness. Black boys are increasingly likely to attempt suicide than black girls, who have more ideation than attempts. Black girls will take a bunch of pills or do something, but black boys gonna blow their brains all the way out. Black boys are gonna go to the extreme. And Hollywood has made death and misery relative to success. So our children just want to live a fast life and not care after that. And introduce that foolishness to the next generation as we go deeper and deeper into the abyss of mental deprivation. I mean, we are just deprived of normalcy. Black boys engaging in more lethal means with attempting suicide than black girls, which has increased by 122% between 1997 and 2017. This is 2023. 122% increase in black boys who are engaging in more lethal means when it comes to attempting suicide. Black boys are twice as likely to die by suicide than white youth. We have always, you know, when COVID was out, people were actually out there saying, you got melanin in your skin, you black, you can't get COVID. Whatever COVID was, whatever it was, it could have just been the flu, could have just been severe pneumonia. It could have just been an infection of the lungs. But whatever it was, the first thing we say, because we are afraid to face reality, we can't get that. Facts about black suicide, men, and suicide. I want to read this. In 2014, 80% of suicide deaths in the black community were men. 80% were men. Recent research has observed that Caribbean black men in the U.S. have the highest attempt rates for the African American community. Do you know why that is? Because America is advertised as the land of gold, milk, and honey. And you get here and you realize that, oh, I'm here. I did everything I'm supposed to do, but I'm still miserable. We attack every facet of life. We want the finances. We want the nice things. And that's what women are demanding now. Guys give them nice things because they're miserable. And they have no clue that the misery is in their soul, in their mind, in their heart. So you can't even love them. They don't want love. Just things. Mental illness, and it will lead to death because women are not paying attention to their bodies. They found a scapegoat. And the scapegoat is people saying that the thicker you are, the better. A little more cushion for the pushing. So most of them don't even care what they look like, long as their booty can swing. Long as it can swing. As long as they can bend over and their booty can swing, fine. But talk to some of these ladies who are bent over with walkers with their big old rump behind them and ask them why they're walking like that. I'm not trying to be fun. Recent research has observed that firearms were the predominant method of suicide among African Americans, regardless of sex or age. Suicides, suffocation was the second most prevalent method. And now on the internet, they got this parody where the woman tries to smother her husband or smother the wife, and it ends up they're smothering the feet instead of the head, and they pop up, and everything that we can't deal with, we make a joke about. But that doesn't fix it. You can party all you want. That doesn't fix the problem. It prolongs the issue. So you find generation after generation, you're losing children to gun violence. You're losing them to drugs. You're losing them to all of these things because we never address the issue. We make fun of it. It is a method of coping that was forced upon us during our sojourn to this country as slaves. It was forced upon us. We had to deal with it. You had to whistle while you were being raped. You had to put your mind someplace else. The men, the women. I'm reading a book now, and I will do a show about it later on. I'm on the 3rd chapter, entitled The Delectable Negro, how slave masters used to cook and eat us. They did it to Nat Turner, how they made us hate ourselves, and now are telling us that we must love ourselves and we don't know how. Then introduced to black people a white Jesus, the same one you said you were killing us under that banner, under that white image, same image. You introduce it to us and say, this image that said it was okay to kill you is now going to save you. And if we want to succeed, we got to accept that. So I've never been fully successful in Clarendon County, in Manning, because of my stance on certain things. Your own people will destroy you. And if you don't have a connection to God, mental illness will consume you. Because everyone around you is around you for something. They want something. And once they think they got it, they will betray you. Mental illness. Who can you trust? Post-traumatic stress. And then Jamil goes missing, and yeah, I knew that Negro was crazy. But nobody says, man, the way y'all treat that dude, it's amazing that he's still around here. It's amazing that he's still on the internet. Not just me. I'm talking about people in general who are going through difficult situations that they have no one to talk to about. Black men don't often recognize depression or trauma as an issue, therefore don't associate suicidal ideation as a problem. See, we just smoke it away. I mean, I get so depressed, not only because it bothers me. I only have one lung, and I'm surviving through life with one of everything. I got one eye, I got one hand, I got one lung, I got half a spine, I got half internal organs, I got half everything. And so life is important to me. And people who don't realize they are depressed just smoke marijuana constantly. And I can't deal with marijuana smoke because it clogs up those of you who smoke it know you start to coughing because the smoke is so thick. Well, it gets in my lung. Imagine someone that can't handle that. And I can literally black out. But I smell that marijuana. You got to smoke it before you go to work. And you just standing there. half doing food, half treating people half, doing things disrespectfully, but expecting results, and then get upset when someone says something and your response is, you disrespecting me. But you're disrespectful. Religion has become a drug. If you believe anything hard enough and you put forth the effort to make it happen, rather you believe in an image or not, 9 times out of 10, the universe will allow it to be so. But you got to put forth effort. Yeah, it's all right if you got a problem. I don't care. I really, at this point, I don't care if you have a problem. There is no negotiating with the person who thinks they know what they don't know. Just prove your point over there. Get you a camera and a microphone and talk your thing. Typical signs of suicide. We're going to close on this. Talking about suicide, for example, making statements such as, I'm going to kill myself, of course, I wish I were dead, or I wish I hadn't been born. Getting the means to take your own life, such as buying a gun or stockpiling pills. Withdrawing from society, contact from social contact, and wanting to be left alone. I love my time to myself. My time to myself does not entertain the thoughts of suicide, although sometimes I wish I were not born. Sometimes I wish I did not have to travel this way. Sometimes I wish that I did not take the red pill. Sometimes I wish that I did not study, I did not read. Sometimes I look at how happy ignorant people are and just wish I was that. Because I could make a lot of money, because I got the talent, the skill, but I also have morals and a moral code. And that gets in the way of this world and God. But sometimes I wish that. And then I wake up from that wish and ask God for forgiveness and thank him for placing me in the light of truth and asking him to give me the strength to travel the road of whatever comes. You know, Jesus asked God to remove the bitter cup. Jesus prayed all night that he didn't have to die for nobody, because he understood that that wouldn't make a difference, and it didn't make a difference. We're making our own rules to religion. There is no way you could follow the strictness of religion and this world. Even Jesus cried out to God, why have you forsaken me? But you don't want a child to say to a parent, why didn't you teach me that? Don't you talk back to me? You should have known. I don't bite my tongue with my children. Having mood swings, such as being emotionally high one day and deeply discouraged the next. I talk to people on the internet, women, men. I have message sessions on the back end. And I'm talking to them and trying to get to the root of pain. And the minute you say something, they are just cut off and don't talk no more. You won't hear from them no more. And I'm saying to myself, that's unfortunate. They don't want to deal with themselves. I don't have a problem dealing with myself. You might not have a problem with me telling you what I am disappointed in about myself, but I don't have a problem, thank God, with dealing with my disappointments. Being preoccupied with death, dying, or violence. That's our children. Love TikTok where people are being shot and killed. Love PS5 where they're shooting and killing. Love music about kill, murder, kill, murder. That is suicidal thought. It's a constant. And suicide is not just taking a pill or blowing your brains out. There's such thing as slow suicide, where you just don't care about your life or who all you take with you when you die. Feeling trapped or hopeless about a situation. Our whole journey has made us feel trapped and hopeless. How many of these guys out here thought they were going to be superstars when they started doing music? I did. But you reach a pinnacle and now you feel trapped and hopeless. Now you back to gang, shooting, killing, drugs, because you didn't make it. because you don't know how to get out. That is the trap that we are in, a suicidal, systematic racial system. Black men, either you do it the way we say do it, or we're not going to let you out. So I don't care if it's Cornell West or whoever, Conrad Worrell, your buddy with the PhD, or the whatever else. They either do it the way the system says to do it, or they're out. And they don't have the know-how or the finances to bring themselves out of a depressing situation. So they must remain depressed in the system or lose everything. I know this for a fact. Increasing use of alcohol or drugs, changing normal routines, including eating or sleeping patterns. I got a son that sleeps too much, dreams a lot. Worries me to death. Because you got to get into the reality of now, where you are and what you got. Give me a hanger, right? A wire hanger and an old stick. A hanger and a stick. And I can sit with a person talking for 3 hours about we ain't got no lawnmower. How we gonna cut this grass? It looks horrible out there. I got a hanger and a stick. But you want to sit there and talk for 3 hours about what we can't do because we ain't got nothing. Well, I'm going to take that wire hanger. I'm going to rub that wire hanger on the ground until it becomes flat. Then I'm going to wrap that hanger around that stick, and I'm going to sling blade that grass. I don't care if it take all day, tomorrow, because now I am doing something to make my thought a reality. Most of us have been trained to sit on the internet and dream all day. I've had people sit and argue with me about they are a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. How are you a millionaire? Because I think it. Well, when you get there, you holler at me. But while you thinking about being a millionaire, I know that I have to make this $25 that I'm getting ready to charge for these graphics over here. I'm going to do that. You keep dreaming. Doing risky or self-destructive things such as using drugs or drinking recklessly. That's all our children. All this gang stuff, all of this violence, all of this showing of money, that is so risky. I'm starving and you showing me that you got $5,000 in your pocket right now, and I know where you are because I see you on the internet. Pray to God that you make it home before I make it to you, because I'm going to take that money. But the risk, we don't care. That is suicidal. It's suicidal to flash your money on the internet and I know where you live. Because if I get hungry and I get strong enough and I'm suicidal, I'm going to come and take it. See, it's suicidal. And your whole family is in the house. You in the room flashing it on the internet, but your mom and daddy don't know. But here comes the guns. Here come the break-in. Here come the killing. Giving away belongings or getting affairs in order when there's no other logical explanation for doing this. That's with the older crowd. When I thought I was going to die and I was ready to die, I just didn't want the pain of death, but I just had to sit my people down, those who were there with me, and tell them I'm tired. I don't want to keep going. My body's swollen. I'm dead. And I don't see no way out of this because I can't sit down and do nothing. And I pray God don't want that for me. So I got my affairs in order. But here I am, by God's permission, 2 years later, still limping along and still trying to make a difference with the next generation, regardless as to what you all think. You all are mostly liars, lying for nothing. You act happy. You're working 5 days. There's no way you can be happy working 3 jobs just to maintain a house and a car. You're not happy. You're doing what you have to do to survive. You're not happy. But you will lie. And your children and my children follow that same pattern, thinking that they're going to reach a pinnacle of happiness when they do what you're doing, and they get there and realize that you were miserable the whole time. Saying goodbye to people as if they won't be seeing you again. I did that. Developing personality changes or being severely anxious or agitated, particularly when experiencing some of the warning signs listed above. I'm going to read this 45 minutes in. Signs to watch out for in Black boys. Withdrawn more than usual, mood changes, angry or unable to express emotion, rather avoid school. And my son is that way right now. So he's on the spectrum for me. I'm highly concerned about him, and I'm trying to show him the way out of it, but whatever's in his head is in there. He gonna follow that. So all I can do is tell him, yeah, boy, you know how you just look at him and just, Lord, help him. Help him, Lord. Help him. Because we're to the point now where, unfortunately, our children have watched our lives and realized that you can't fool them like you used to. Our Black organizations, 95% of them are liars. They're not doing nothing to elevate Black people. They choose a Black person who follows the white system and elevate them. But they do not find a person who's trying to be free of the system and elevate them. None of your Black organizations do. None of your Black churches do. They are indoctrinating us into the system. And if that's what you want, there is success there. I'm not saying there's no success there. The Bible say be in it, but not of it. But we are in it and of it. And in that, with that, comes mental depression, thoughts of suicide. Avoiding school, sleeping more often, not interested in usual activities, could care less. Change in music. Watch for the lyrics of the songs. Having difficulty in school and not interested in everyday affairs. Come on, let's go outside. I don't want to go out. Next thing you know, the house smelling like weed or smelling like fentanyl, or they got some dust up their nose, or a liquor bottle in the room, or you're finding prophylactics, those are rubbers, by the way, in that they can't even flush down the toilet, or you're seeing sperm on the sink where they playing with themselves so much. Girls are doing it. They're in the bathroom 3 and 4 hours on TikTok squirting and fingering themselves because they finally are getting attention, but it's like a vampire sucking your blood. Because we lost the art of conversation, listening, responding, listening, giving a hug, listening, crying, listening, thinking. The art of conversation. It don't always have to be a back and forth, but there must be a method of communication where I understand what you're talking about. We're not in the same world. And the things that we are successful in, we're getting the cars now, we're getting the houses now, we're getting all the things that we were told would make us happy. The American dream. The word dream. That's what it is. And it quickly becomes a nightmare because with everything comes responsibility. Signs to watch out for in Black men, and we're closing. Don't focus necessarily on typical routines such as work, social networks, and hobbies. Most Black men are high functioning and will continue to do their normal activities, but suffer in silence. I'm going to say that again. We are high functioning. And you think, oh, yeah, Jamil like doing everything. No, I don't. I'm just trying to keep my mind off of the things that have me depressed and mentally unstable. And a conversation would be much better than doing all of this and you thinking that you can sit down on your behind because you think I want to do it all. And the minute I say I don't feel like doing it anymore, you're not mature enough to ask, what can we do? No, just cut them out. Just leave them out. So I had to go through all of these things with people around me so that I could feel the pain of it and speak from the perspective of pain, not just reading off a paper, but telling you what I've experienced and you have experienced. Do you realize how many young boys are dead because they were depressed and they were trying to find life in doing something stupid? How many young boys have killed? How many young boys are because the ignorance of the adults leads them into, you're going to feel good if you do this. Now our young boys, according to the coroner, is getting hooked on not just heroin, but shooting heroin. This is not a game. This is not a joke. It didn't happen to your children, but look at how God make things make sense and make things involve you, even though you don't want to get involved. Your pretty little girl that you raised to do right falls in love with a heroin addict, and one night he kills her. Your pretty little girl falls in love with a heroin addict who's sharing needles, and one night gives her AIDS. Your pretty little daughter gets brutalized and raped because somebody needed drugs. She got caught in between the crossfire of gang warfare. Everybody is involved. This is everybody's problem. It ain't knock on your door yet. But it's coming. My child ain't never did nothing, but you ain't did nothing either because you figure you in the clear. My children all right. My family all right. The world is your family. If you got yours right, use your blueprint to help others. And if you show you got them right, let them talk to a psychiatrist and listen to the things behind a glass door that they say that they don't like about you. They just pretended. Increased substance use from social to a home and from social to at home and isolating when doing so. Irritable over the smaller things, wanting to talk less at home or isolate from friends, especially on weekends. Discussing death and quality of life concerns. Putting self in risky situations, such as starting arguments that can lead to confrontation. Activities that can lead to police involvement. Inability to adapt to change, and severe post-traumatic stress syndrome. I am the face of mental depression, mental illness, doubt, suicidal thoughts. You are the face of it too. I had to talk about this today, and this ain't even half of what I want to talk about, but I think we're going to close on that. Mental health concerns. Black men and boys suffer from high rates of post-traumatic stress. Black men suffer from high rates of depression. Black men suffer from high rates of anxiety. Risk factors are racism, of course, that's the key. Not just racism from white people, but a system of racism. A system. We are watching our communities be overtaken by Koreans and Hindus. They got all the corner stores. They got all the restaurants. If there's a black restaurant in town, if they mess up one time, we want to talk about them on the internet and shut them down. Don't give them another chance. At least give them one more chance. Biggie said, give them one more chance. Just one. Police brutality, of course. And it's not just beating black men. We just afraid. When I grew up in King Street, South Carolina, we were told, stay away from the police. If you see them, run away. We were terrified of them. And that same post-traumatic, I still got it. I still feel there's an underlying something that you black or white, you will do something to justify what has been done. And it scares me because this is a system. I want to believe it. I want to believe it's fair, but I know that it's not. And this doesn't pertain to all. but it certainly pertains to some. This is all opportunistic. This is an opportunistic society. Childhood trauma, survivor's guilt, and lack of understanding of healthy versus unhealthy coping skills. It's not healthy to drink yourself into forgetting. It's not healthy to screw yourself into forgetting, to cheating on rather it's your girlfriend or what. It's not healthy. It's not even healthy to go to another gender because you've had bad experiences with men. Now you want to try women. It's spiritual suicide, but it's an illness. But I respect it. I really do respect the overstanding of men having love for each other, women love for each other. Something happened. Something was triggered. Something made them more comfortable around people of their own sex. Not all of them didn't want to just be freaky. It's deeper than that. And I hate that they commercialized the pain of the LGBTQ community. I hate that they commercialized gay and lesbian and made it a fad because people are suffering. People are looking for answers. People are really, really confused up here. And we have bottled it all up to they just freaky. They just want to do freaky stuff. They want to go against God. Why you think some of them are still in church? Because they love the idea of a God. And then now they got to twist it to justify being there. And if you put them out, they're going to make their own church. So then if they got their own church, leave them alone. If God going to punish them, they over there. You over here. If they got their own club, leave them alone. If God going to punish them, they over there. Mental illness, it's a lot. All of it meshes together, though. Some people, because of their mental illness and being bullied when they get a position of power, they really become fanatical. Fanatical cop, a fanatical politician, a fanatical preacher, just military, all zeal, just rah, 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 I'm this, I'm that. I'm this. And then you got people who've been afraid all of their lives who capitulate to those type of people. Be looking like a little puppy. Yeah, you right. You smart. You right. All mental illness, all can lead to Black suicide and is. The church is not exempt. Churches lie. They lie. They lie. Preachers lie. I mean, you can't tell all truth, man, but golly, y'all lie, man. And put God's name on it. And because nothing happens immediately, you think God on your side with that. But you a liar. Not for the sake of lying to get out of something. You just lying. I thank y'all for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir. I had to touch on it. It's a heavy subject. I want, there's substance abuse that goes along with suicide and why don't people ask for help? There's a lack of understanding about suicide ideation and the cause of it. Many Black men don't recognize hopelessness as a gateway to ideation if not addressed. We are hopeless. 95% of your hustlers and rappers who used to be rapping got jobs now. They're hopeless. They're going right into the system that they rapped about. I don't need this, need that. All I need is Skrilla with the rapping. And then they spend all their extra money. And now they bottomed out and they're hopeless. So we use what is called cognitive dissonance. Look it up. And whatever we doing, we make that the thing to be doing. Yeah, you know what I mean? A real man get a job. And the minute your hustle comes back up, a real man hustle. Shame and guilt due to the expectations of being a black male. There's a lot of shame with it. I had a gentleman, a friend of mine, that called me from Washington, D.C. when I was talking about Africa. And he never told me he had a brother who committed murder. He hid that. He was ashamed. But he told me that night. And he said, brother, you know, when they used to show those videos of Africans on TV with the flies on them and skinny, I was so embarrassed to be black. I was so embarrassed. Now you pointing out what happened and why they were that way. And I realized that I was wrong. I didn't even look into the situation. I just got embarrassed. So now we got Trippie Redd and Sukiyami and the rest of them out there acting a real donkey. It's embarrassing, but I understand it. The drugs are awful, but I understand it. The murder is awful. But man, if we don't get it together. So I was talking to someone today, and I'm going to close on this. Black males, black people in general feel entitled that we should be able to play loud music, act a fool, smoke weed, rob, kill, and still be respected. We feel entitled because we can't go to where we want to be. Trippie Redd didn't make herself. Somebody found her and used her as a psyop. She is a psychological operation to take the minds of black women that being pregnant, barefooted, and ignorant, you can rap and be rich. Another 300,000 to 400,000 black girls gone to the world and hoeing. Yes. The other one that's married to the blue face guy, she answered all her problems with fighting. Another psyop. Fight everybody. Now you see black girls getting knocked out cold by black men and white men on the internet. You think that's just the worst thing, but they are out of bounds. They're out of pocket. Mental illness. Intergenerational trauma. We all had issues and made it, therefore you will too. We don't have time to be weak, suck up. That we deal with it. I made it. I got through. I was in a steam room one day after therapy, and a white guy was in there, and the white guy was telling me about his failed relationship and how he felt like killing himself. This was just last month. And he asked me, do you believe in Jesus Christ? I said, I believe in Jesus, but not the image that is portrayed. I believe there is a Jesus. I believe there are Jesuses. And he was telling me the pain of thinking that this girl he was with was his life, found out she was cheating and broke his heart. I've been through that. I could understand. Then a black guy comes in. He was hit by a car, so his legs is all mangled. And he interjects in our conversation. You can get over it. You can make it through. I said, brother, maybe it's simple for you. Or maybe you just don't pay attention. I said, what happened to your leg? Oh, I got hit by a car. I said, well, what's that big bruise on? Oh, they got to cut that off, but I'm going to be all right. Of course you are. But what has it done to you psychologically? I said, he's not the same as you, nor am I the same as you. We all deal with things differently. I said it just like this. I said, let him grieve the way he wants to grieve and either listen or dismiss yourself from the conversation. He apologized to me. I said, none necessary. Some people are just stronger than others. But intergenerational trauma. We all had issues, and I made it, and you can make it. And that's what he interjected, his trauma, into a conversation that was for mental healing. In closing, suicide is often discussed as an afterthought, not a prevention among the black community. After they dead, we talk about it. But we're never proactive. I try to teach my children, be proactive. If I suspect you trying something, I'm on it. If I'm wrong, at least I was on it. I ain't got no problem apologizing, but I will not sleep on nobody. Y'all call that being dangerous, but we grew up that way. Suspect the worst. Prepare for the worst, but expect the best. stigma surrounding mental health and religious perspective. Well, if you love Jesus Christ, you won't have no mental problem. Jesus will take care of all your problems. Lord help us. I thank y'all for tuning in. I'm not going to do a part 2 on this. If you have any questions, as always, you can send them to me, message me. Please try to make sure that young people get a hold of this. It's necessary. So many people have died and are dying inside and are silently killing themselves, looking for the best high they can get from items in their medicine cabinet. They're mixing Sprite soda with NyQuil. That's syrup. That's in your house. They can get high off of that and destroy their liver at the same time. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib, Zamir Manning, South Carolina. I pray that it came out on Instagram. They muted me last time I was talking about sex and sexual behavior, rape and molestation, and they just shut that thing down. But I hope they didn't shut this one down. This is Jamil Salib, Zamir Manning, South Carolina. I'm always bouncing around.